Do you want to listen to this? And be able to do this. I'm going to show you how next. Welcome to How It's Made, where we take a track, we dissect it, and we show you how it's made. Let's go. This week, the worldwide smash Rockstar by DaBaby. Let's make the track.
Let's get into this. It starts with a fake nylon guitar. I used Omnisphere nylon guitar granulation. It goes like this. Okay, so what we have here in the beginning, they've staggered the MIDI notes to make it kind of sound like a strum. So you can see here on the line would be the beat, and I've staggered these notes so they don't quite play at the same time. So the chord sequence they're playing is an A flat minor, a B, an F sharp, and an E. And as you could hear, when it gets to this section after the intro, they play the same chords, but it just arpeggiates. Now, I've put the black hole reverb on it. Let me exaggerate the reverb so you can kind of hear what it's doing. Amazing reverb. It just makes it in this beautiful cavernous type setting. Now, also on the right side, it sounded like the low notes only were coming out. Now, I'm not sure what keyboard they used in the track, but lots of times a keyboard will split low notes and high notes out left, right. Atmosphere doesn't do that with this patch, so I've kind of created a left, right, where the low notes are coming out of the right and the high notes are coming out of the left. And that sounds like this. Now, to create a little bit of extra ambience behind that, I've used a Nexus pad in Epic Pads, Ganymede, and it sounds like this. Tucked under the nylon guitars, together, they sound like this. Next, we have a kick sample. Let me take this stuff off the kick. That kick is from a Roland 606 drum machine. Now I've put a lot of distortion on it and some limiting and compression. And together they sound like this. Along with that, we have an 808 hat that I've truncated back quite a ways because the hat in the track was really super tight and a really short sample. So the hi-hat pattern is a 2-bar phrase of 16th notes with a few spots of 64th note triplets, and it goes like this. On 2 and 4, we have a clap from a 707 Roland drum machine, and by itself it sounds like this. Now on the clap, I've added a bunch of around 700 hertz for some really kind of warmth in the upper mids. And this is a trick that a lot of urban guys use. This is called a clipper. Now what this is doing is basically jamming the signal all the way up to 0 and then clipping the top off. So each time you're just really getting it as loud and as limited as you can with some digital clipping that sounds like distortion. Urban tracks, claps, kicks, snares, all kinds of stuff really sound good with this clipping on. So try it in all your tracks and you'll really find the punch of the drums really is accentuated. Underneath our clap, we just have a rim shot. Next, we have a little reverse cymbal that comes in with a little bit of reverb on it. Next, even though I don't do this much for track diagnosis, there was a really cool part that he sang with a bunch of reverb on it, and I've cut a bunch of the lows out and a bunch of the highs. It's just kind of a muffled, cool part back in the back. Now the reason I really wanted to show this is because you don't always have to rely on a synth or a sample or a keyboard patch to make a cool hook in the background. If you can think of it and you can sing, or you can sing close enough to tune it, you can really come up with some great ideas like they did here. Let me play this. Now, for the bass, I've used a mini Moog driver, and the bass sounds like this. Now, again, I've smashed it really good with the MV2 compression and limiting. And again, I've used distortion from Decapitator. Let me take the distortion off. Put it on. Now, a lot of people are going to say, man, that just sounds like a distorted 808 kick in the song. Let me play my kick and the bass together. Your guess would probably be right. It probably just is one sample and it's an 808 kick. But what I wanted to show here is sometimes it's nice to make that sound up with two elements. So you have more control over the kick drum and the attack of the sample and the actual tone. So a lot of times when there's an 808 kick sample with the bass part, I'll split it out between a kick drum and a bass sample that sounds kind of 808ish and distorted. And together they sound like this. It just gives me a lot more control over the elements that make that bass sound up. So basically that's it. That's all that's in this track. Now down here, obviously you see some more things. We'll get to that in a second. But let me play you what makes this track up. Okay, so what we have here, let me play this section. They've made it even smaller with a lot of the same instruments, but they've really filtered and EQ'd it out. Let me play it. very cool. So basically what they've done, they have the same nylon guitar part. I've just turned it down and filtered it even a little more. So we've got some high end, but a lot of the mid-range and the low end is gone. Same black hole reverb. Next, in our breakdown, down here, we have our clap. But it's very kind of AM radioed out. I have this EQ, and then I have an SSL channel strip. And what I did is I started from the Chris Lord Algae Filter Vox preset. Here's without the preset. And here's with the SSL channel back on. It's really gating it off with a lot of compression and some really cool AM radio sounding EQ. Next, we have another vocal part. Under that, there's a whistle. Under that, it sounded like there was piano with a bunch of reverb. This is Keyscape by Spectrasonics, a great piano VST. I've got it on cinematic, and that sounds like this. Also, just pan to the right. And lastly, we have our same bass pattern that we're playing, but we're hitting it with the same Chris Lord Algae Filter Vox, which sounds like this. That section sounds like this. One other thing that I forgot to point out, when I go to my bass sound, the first thing we have in the order of plugins is a compressor, and if you see that this is on, that has activated a sidechain. And where I'm sidechaining this from is from the kick drum. So you can see that every time the kick drum hits, it dips down the attack of my bass sound ever so slightly and then releases it. That allows this kick drum to pop through the sound more than the attack of the bass itself. And that sounds like this. I could accentuate that. You can hear now that it's almost going bow 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 bow. Don't want quite that much. You can just hear how it leaves much more room for this kick drum before this sound takes over. After listening, I've realized there's a part in the nylon guitar that I've missed. So, it's right here. Going into the third chord, which is the F sharp, he's going to go da 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 da. So let's repair this. What it sounds like to me is a triplet. So I've set my grid to 16th note triplet, and I've added this note. Let's see if I'm right. Okay, let me just slip back and forth between R's and theirs and see how close it sounds.
Okay, I'm really happy with that. We've keyed in on all the parts and matched the sounds in the original track nicely. On the music surgery scale of difficulty, I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Super simple. Chances are you already have these sounds on your hard drive. On the music surgery scale of creativity, I'll give it a 5 out of 10. Nothing out of the ordinary here, but well done. Remember, a song doesn't have to be complex or completely original to be great or a hit. Medical costs and healthcare are on the rise, so please remember to hit subscribe below and help us keep this free clinic open. Thank you for watching Music Surgery with Dr. Bob. That about does it for this episode of How It's Made. I hope this gives you a deeper look into creating tracks and helps you to take yours to the next level. I'll see you the next time the doctor's in.